and things. Right at the teleprompter. Yeah, so that would solve that problem. So
Testing,
I'll bring
testing,
that up to you later today.
testing, testing.
I'm sure it's easy to figure out. So
Testing.
hey, folks, Dr. Joe, glad you can be with us today. If you're new to the show, any health question you might have. And when I go to a 24-minute, at the break at 24 minutes, I'll answer the questions. Then I do another 24 minutes. Then we take another break, answer more questions. So it's a great opportunity to have little mini consultations and maybe give you some advice. And not necessarily health advice, but kind of direct you where you should go. Because so many people come to us and say, Dr. Joe, I don't know what to do. I've been to this doctor, that doctor. Maybe I haven't been to a doctor. I don't know what direction to go in. So I want to be your captain. I want to steer your health ship. How's that for a little analogy? So it's a lot of fun. Please, if you're listening live, put in hashtag live right now. If you're listening on a replay, put in hashtag replay. And I appreciate that because that lets the bots of the world know who's listening and where and what and everything. So the more hashtags we get, the more people we have. So it's kind of fun. All right, I am ready to start whenever you guys are. We ready, Garrett? Okay. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I'm glad you're with us today. What I'm going to talk today, I'm going to talk about what's really in your fast food because I'm blown away that so many people still abuse their bodies every day. And a lot of it is because you don't know what to do. Every single day, patients come in my office. I contact emails, through email, the website, drjoe.com. And they'll say, Dr. Joe, I want to do better. I just don't know what to do. And so we're going to talk about what to do, better choices. And we're going to talk about what's really in your fast food. Because one thing I've learned in my 40 years of coaching people is that when you hit them with logic, it's really hard to argue with that. Some people do. Some people are, I guess, on a self-destructive pathway, and they don't care what they do to themselves. But when I hit them with logic and I give them information, they go, that makes sense. I was at a concert the other day with one of the radio stations I work with, and one of the DJs was there. We were talking, and she said, listen, I just want to tell you that I don't drink coffee anymore. I heard you talk about coffee. I gave up the coffee. She goes, and I do the morning shift. And everybody in my team hates the fact that I don't do coffee. They don't know where I get my energy from. She says, but I have so much more energy not doing coffee than doing coffee. And I appreciate you, Dr. Joe, because you taught me why I shouldn't do coffee. Not just don't do it, why. And she goes, I just never told you that years ago, and I just want to say thank you. So let's talk about what's really in your food. Let's start with French fries. Now, I don't know anyone in the world who doesn't like French fries, myself included. But it's just a potato, and it's fried in oil. It's a little salt. Pretty simple stuff, right? Just potatoes and salt and oil. Not so. Fast food restaurants oftentimes have more than 15 ingredients, including sugar, monosodium glutamate, artificial sweeteners, beef tallow sometimes. And there's preservatives in there, and the preservatives have been linked to vision problems in certain people, certain of the preservatives they used. Pyrophosphate's one of them. So you got to think it's not just grandma taking a potato, slicing it up, and putting it in some oil. And the oils themselves, you have to realize that the oils they're using are usually vegetable oils. In fact, I think they're always vegetable oils. Peanut oil, soybean oil, corn oil, canola oils. And these oils, I did a show on this a couple of weeks ago. These oils, when you put them in your body, oxidize very quickly. That means they basically go rancid. They go bad. And when they get into the blood system, they can irritate the lining of the blood vessel wall, and that can cause the body to have to lay down cholesterol because it's bruised or damaged, this is simply put, the lining of the blood vessel. And so the body lays down cholesterol kind of like a scab to protect that area. So you got to be careful. It's not just the fat. It's not just the potato. It's not just the salt. It's a lot more than that. And when you heat those fats, and those fats are used over and over and over again, each time they're reused and heated again, it becomes more dangerous than it was before. And now also the crispiness, and I got a lot of feedback on this, pushback on this when I did a little reel on this. We do a lot of social media posts. And they said, yeah, but what if we make our own potatoes? What if we make our own French fries? You're still heating the oils, and the oils are still going rancid, and they're oxidizing. But when you get that crispiness on the potato, that crispiness is something called acrylamide. Acrylamide are known carcinogenics. Now, it's not maybe, it could be related to known carcinogenic. So there's so many downsides to this. And somebody said, what about an air fryer? We're not going to deep fry, we're going to air fry it. As long as you get the crispiness, you're getting the problem with it. So I love potatoes. I love crunchy potatoes. I love French fries. But what I do when it comes to food is I have to make a decision at every meal. Is it worth it? And the answer is no. It's not. It just isn't. I'm sorry to report this to you, and don't shoot the messenger, but this is the bad news that happens. And I talked about this the other day on my show. I went to a christening. And at the christening, the people that hosted the christening were very kind, and they had a vegan pizza, and they had vegan cupcakes. And so the gal I was with, she was a vegan, so she had some of the cupcake, and she sliced off a little tiny square, maybe the size of the palm of your hand, and maybe as thick as a quarter. I mean, really thin. And it had frosting on it and everything. And I ate it, and it tasted really good. And all I wanted for the rest of the day was more cupcake. Because once you put these toxic chemicals, for example, sugars, into your brain, it stimulated a part of my brain called the nucleus accumbens. Nucleus accumbens release dopamine. Dopamine is released. I got high from it, and I wanted more. So I'm no different than you. I have the same challenges that you have because my brain works just like yours. It likes pleasure. And so I have to sit back and say, okay, is it worth it? The answer is no. And even sent the cupcakes home with us. And I was like, I don't want them because if they're in the house, I'm going to be tempted. So that's one of my rules, off topic for a second. My rule about eating well, one of the top rules is get the bad food out of the house. Because if it's in the house, the chances are very high that you're going to eat it. And if it's not in the house and you're lazy, you're probably not going to go out of your way to get in your car, drive to the store, buy some bad food, and then eat it. Boy, I could really go for a cupcake. You know what? Not in the house. I'm not going to eat it. So anyway, we're talking about fast food today, but that's a little side note there. All right, along with French fries goes hamburgers. Ground beef. Pretty simple. Kill a cow, grind it up, fry it, hamburger. Well, a lot of the commercial meat that you're eating it contains steroids, chemicals, hormones, antibiotics, pesticides, genetically modified food, a weed killer, glyphosate, and that ends up in your system. One study, some burgers had over 100 calories more per serving than the fast food places said they did. So it says it has whatever, 300 calories, it could have up to 400 calories. So don't always believe that. And the other thing that happens, aside from its meat, it's one of my 7 deadly sins, is when you grind the meat up, you create more surface area. So if I have a steak, there's the top and the bottom and the sides, and that's it. That's what's called the surface area. And that's places where bacteria, viruses, germs can kind of set up shop. When you grind up the meat, it has a lot more surface area and a lot more places for toxins or pathogens to get mixed in with the meat. And also, it's not just one cow that you're eating. If you've ever seen the slaughterhouses and how they grind the meat, they throw in a bunch of different cows. And if one of the cows is sick, it's going to mix with all the other meat. So my first job, well, I was a paper boy originally, but my first real job ever was I was a delivery boy for a butcher. His name was Frank. And I remember he was an old-time butcher shop, and people would come in, and they'd order the meat, and he had a meat grinder behind the counter, and he would slice up the meat in front of the person and say, look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, Rose, this is so nice. Look at this, fresh cut. I just got it in today. And he'd turn around, and underneath the counter where the meat grinder was, he had this cheap ground-up chopped meat. And it was fat, and it was bone, and it was all the cheap stuff that he could scrape off the bones because it was a one-man butcher shop. And he'd take the meat, he'd hold it up in the air, the fresh meat that they had, and he'd grab with his other hand this cheap stuff. And then he'd block the person's view and mix it into the grinder. And they thought they were getting this top-of-the-line chopped meat at a good price. Well, he was cutting it about half with the cheap stuff. So if he can do that on a one-man operation, imagine what happens in these big companies. So I'm not a fan of the meat. But when you cook the meat and you fry up the burger and you get those little grill marks on it, the thing that tastes so good, those are called heterocyclic amines. Heterocyclic amines are known carcinogens, just like acrylamides, known carcinogens. And when you grill the meat and the smell comes off, that smell of barbecued meat that many of you find so attractive, the smell is called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are also known carcinogens. Then we put it on white bread. And white bread, unfortunately, is just the part of the wheat kernel called the endosperm, which is essentially sugar. If we look at a wheat kernel, it has bran, which is the fiber. It has the germ, wheat germ, which is the nutrients and the vitamin E and the other vital nutrients there. And then the endosperm is the big bulk of it. And it's essentially just sugar. So when you're doing white bread, we're taking the bran off, the fiber. We're taking off the germ, which is the nutrients, and the only thing left is the endosperm, and that's ground up, and that's what we make our white flour out of. Then we bleach it, in most cases, to make it more white, another toxin, and that becomes a big issue. Now, years ago, we used to use something called iodine in our bread as a dough conditioner. Well, somebody smarter than me figured it out that we can use bromine instead of iodine as a dough conditioner. It's cheaper, and it makes the dough have that elasticity and that flavor and the texture that we like. Well, the problem is that we need iodine in our diet, and almost everyone, and certainly in the United States, is deficient in iodine. Because the main source of iodine in the U.S. diet is iodized salt. What's something you shouldn't eat a lot of? Salt. So we put the iodine in there, and the reason was that people were getting goiters all around the country, especially away from the oceans, because away from the ocean, people weren't eating seaweed and sea vegetables and seafood. And so we found that if we iodized the salt, at least people in the Midwest and in Central America who weren't eating anything from the sea were actually getting some iodine and prevented goiters from happening. Goiter is swelling of the thyroid gland. So it worked. Worked very nicely. Problem is that's not enough iodine to work properly. Your thyroid gland makes thyroid hormones, T1, T2, T3, and T4. The numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, tell you how many molecules of iodine are attached to that hormone. So many of you have hypothyroidism. The thyroid isn't working as well as it should, and that could be the reason why you're losing your hair. It could be the reason why you can't lose weight, why you're fatigued all the time. Anyway, that's a lecture on thyroid. So what we found is that if we used iodine in our bread, it helped as a dough conditioner, but it also was giving people iodine. We switched to bromine. Bromine looks like iodine. It's called a haloid. And there's 4 haloids: bromine, chlorine, fluorine, and iodine. I hope I don't get too technical here. So they all look the same, almost the same under the microscope. So if you're eating bromine in your bread, the bromine can block up your thyroid and prevent you from absorbing the iodine that you don't have enough of anyway. So I don't like the commercial breads for another reason, is because they have bromine in them, and that can block up your thyroid gland. Also, if you're drinking a soda, because if we're going to eat fast foods, we drink sodas. And there's one soda out there, and it's yellow in color, greenish yellow, has a lot of caffeine in it, gives you a little boost. And it has bromine in it. And the reason it's there is to keep the ingredients mixed together. I looked it up. So if you're drinking that certain drink, this energy drink, energy soda, a lot of caffeine, which is not good for your heart and your brain, but it also has the bromine in it, and it can block up your thyroid and can affect the iodine absorption, and that could lead to thyroid problems. So I know I just went down a rabbit hole there, but my concern is this, that we don't research what we're putting in our bodies. I research biochemistry and food every single day of my life for the past 40 years. I don't think a day has gone by, unless it was very rare, that I didn't research. And I find out stuff every single day. I learn something new every day for the past 40 years. So I don't expect you to know all this, and I certainly don't expect your doctors to know this. Your doctors have almost zero training in nutrition in most cases. And so people say, well, I went to my doctor and my thyroid test was normal. Okay. But is there something else subclinical that's going on with the thyroid? It could be something as simple as you're eating too much bromine. Chlorine, too. Chlorine in your water can block up the thyroid. So the haloids look like iodine. That's where the problem is. And fluorine from toothpaste can block up your thyroid and prevent you from absorbing iodine. So again, once in a while you use it, you drink a little bit, you swim in a pool, probably not going to change your life. But when you do it on a regular basis, you're drinking tap water with chlorine, you're eating brominated bread, dough conditioner that's put in the bread, using fluorinated toothpaste, you have to look at the long-term side effects. And that's why so many patients come in our offices with these problems, and we have to unravel this puzzle. We look at the patient and say, my God, you have neck pain and back pain, you're overweight, and you got bad gas and bloating, your ankles are swollen, your heart rate's too high, and you have high blood pressure and diabetes, and we have to sit there and try to unravel this mess. And usually we do, which is the good news. And most people do what we say. And most people get amazing results. And most people say, why didn't I do this sooner? How come nobody ever told me what I just told you about bromine and bread and soda? And my answer is, I don't know. I don't know how to consult you on surgery. I've never studied surgery. I can't do surgery. I can't prescribe medications. But I'm really good at this. And that's why so many patients from all over the world come to see us, because they want to get their health problem unraveled. And it's not going to happen overnight. If you come see us, don't expect you're going to come in one visit and your problem's going to be solved. We're not that good. So if that's what you're expecting, don't waste your time. Don't waste our time. Don't waste your money. Keep doing what you're doing. But if you're ready to put together a protocol, that's what we want to do. So we're talking today about what's really in your fast food, but I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. If you would like to make an appointment to come see us, if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, hormone issues, brain fog, go to my website, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right now. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love to be your doctors. And we can do virtual consultations, because if you're not in the area, you can't come see us, we can always do a virtual consultation. So you can book an appointment on the website, call my office. The numbers are on the website, and we would love to be your doctors. If you come in person, normally that first visit is $940. We've reduced that for you, my listeners, to $299. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, on the follow-up visit, going over your x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. So we want to be your doctors. Whether it's virtually or in person, we want to get you well and keep you well. So let's keep talking about fast food. I kind of got off on a tangent there. So with soda, many times it's cheap to supersize your soda. So a typical fast food place is about 32 ounces of soda, has about 270 calories. And again, it's not just the soda that's the problem. It's the fact now, here in the States especially, we sweeten our soda with high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is sweeter than sugar and cheaper than sugar. So if I'm a soda manufacturer, I want to use something that I'm going to make more profit on, and I have to use less of. High fructose corn syrup. In steps, high fructose corn syrup answers that question. The problem is when you put fructose in the body has to convert that fructose into glucose, which is the fuel that your body uses. So in the process of converting fructose into glucose, your body produces something called uric acid. Uric acid is a waste product of that conversion. Uric acid can get in your joints and it hurts. Now, as a pain management expert, as a chiropractor, as a non-surgical orthopedist, my concern is get you out of pain as quickly as possible. If you keep throwing stuff in the body to make more pain, you're fighting with me. And I don't want to fight with you because I'm going to lose. So cutting out high fructose corn syrup is so important on so many different levels, including the fact it lowers your calories, but it also prevents the uric acid. Uric acid prevents the body from properly producing nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels, increases circulation. So we want to cut that out as well. So the best thing to do, and if I go out for fast food, and I'll talk about that in a second, there are certain places I'll go, and I'll just get seltzer water or water. Because when you're thirsty, you're not thirsty for anything but water. And if you're doing soda, which has sugar, an argument I got in with on the air one day, a fun argument with my friend Eric Von Hessler. Sugar is a salt. He says, how can sugar be a salt? It sounds like an Abbott and Costello routine. And so, but anything that dissolves in water is going to be a salt. And so sugar dissolves in water, so technically it ionizes. It's called a salt. And when you put it in your body, it makes you thirsty. So if you're drinking soda, you want to drink more soda. And the sugar releases the dopamine in your brain, and you get high from it. The phosphoric acid in the dark-colored sodas is an acid, can rob the body of calcium because it's a strong acid. The body uses calcium to neutralize the acids. And then, of course, if you drink artificial sweetener sodas, worse still. Of all the 7 deadly sins, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener is the worst one in my opinion. And so that's the one I want you to cut out right away. So we're going to a fast food place. We got a burger, fries, and a soda. So far, we've given our body almost no nutrients, and we've done so many toxic things to our body on so many different levels. And remember, when you're hungry, you're not hungry for food. You're hungry for nutrition. And giving your body these things just robs the body of nutrition, and it makes you more hungry. That's one of the downsides. You get hungry when you eat bad food because the brain says, you know, Joe, I really like those French fries, burgers, and that soda. It tasted really good. However, that's not what I need. I need nutrients. And that's why I tell everybody, no matter what your diet is, I would recommend at least minimum supplements would be Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. They taste great. I mix it together first thing in the morning, and it gives me so much energy. And I told the story the other week in case you didn't hear it. I made a mistake. I'm going to admit that I made a mistake. I had my Super Greens and Essential Source in the morning, and I had a big night planned. And so that night, I said, right around 3 or 4 o'clock, I took a second dose of Super Greens and Essential Source. And I said, this will give me energy throughout the evening, and I'll feel good. So not only is it nutritious, it gives you lots of energy. And so I did that, and 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting there watching cartoons going, I cannot sleep. I have so much energy. I'm wide awake. I wasn't jittery like coffee. My brain wasn't racing. I just was wide awake. So I take my Super Greens and Essential Source in the morning. Now, if I need a little boost, I'll take maybe a half a scoop of each in the evening. And I do that before radio shows. Like if I'm going to do a radio show at, let's say, 7 o'clock at night, I'll take a little dose, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That gives me lots of energy, good brain clarity, and I get through the day. But it's amazing, the results you get. And that's Essential Sources, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, complete multivitamin, fruits and vegetables in a powder form. So those are the minimum nutrients that you need every day, Super Greens and Essential Source. So if you have a good diet, I would say take Super Greens and Essential Source. If you have a bad diet, you really need to take Super Greens and Essential Source because you got to give the body the nutrients that it needs. And you can only run the car so long on bad gas until it conks out. That's what happens with your diet. Now, I've been in practice a long time, and patients come to me all the time. And many times I look at their chart, I always do, and I see their age. And I think, wow, you're younger than me, and you look awful. And you have heart disease, and you're on blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, you have a belly fat, and you have erectile dysfunction and brain fog. And I'm thinking, it's not age that did it to you. It's your lifestyle that did it to you. Because you're younger than me, some of these people. And you're really sick. I take no medication. When I go to doctor, if I go to medical doctor for a medical evaluation, like, so what's your list of medications? I don't take any. What do you mean you don't take any? At your age, you should be taking a lot of medications. I take none. Now, I'm not against medication. If you're on medication, keep taking it. But let's put together a protocol so that hopefully you will be able to get well enough so you don't need the medication. I don't take you off medication. I get you well enough, hopefully, so you don't need it. Sometimes you need it forever. That's okay. Let's use the benefit of modern medicine with the benefit of natural health and put the two together. Now you have a healthcare plan. Most of you have health insurance. You don't have a healthcare plan. So, again, the website, if you want to make an appointment, if you have any questions, send it to me through the website, drjoe.com. All right, let's continue fast food. Let's talk about a breakfast sandwich. Some ingredient listed on one national outlet calls for a fried egg, which include modified cornstarch, soybean oil, medium chain triglycerides, propylene glycol, artificial flavor, citric acid, xanthan gum, and, oh yeah, a little bit of egg in there too. So it's not what you bargained for. You say, please hold the propylene glycol, right? No, they're not going to do that. And the reason is that a lot of these chemicals are preservatives. They make this stuff last longer so they can stay on the shelf longer and make a profit. And many times they taste good. They're hyper-palatable foods. Things like monosodium glutamate, salt, sugar. They stimulate your palate and you want to eat more. That's why you say, well, I made that at home. It didn't taste as good. Well, you didn't add the MSG, the propylene glycol, the medium chain triglycerides, the sugars, the salt. So I get it. It doesn't taste as good. And it's quick. And it's easy. And it's cheap. It's not cheap. It's very expensive overall. You may get it for $1, but what's it doing to your heart? What's it doing to your liver? What's it doing to your longevity? What's it doing to your ability to function as a man, as a woman, as a husband, as a wife, as a lover, as a worker, as a churchgoer? It's very expensive in the long run. Folks, I got a lot more to cover. If you want to learn, and we post every single day on social media, many times, several times a day, go to social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and type in @Dr. Joe Esposito. That's my handle. Follow us on social media. You are going to learn so much every day. 1 minute post. That's all we do. 1 minute post. Going to get so much information. @Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're a podcast junkie, go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. We post podcasts twice a week. So you have podcasts, you have social media, you have our radio shows, you have our website, drjoe.com, where you can look up anything you want. Website's there 24 hours a day. Just type in the search bar what you're looking for, and we've probably got a lot of information on it there. But the most important thing would be to make an appointment or at least order the supplements, and the website is at drjoe.com. Folks, got a lot more to cover. Follow us on social media @Dr. Joe Esposito, drjoe.com. We'll be right back. Boom. We have questions?
What are the healthiest toppings for a baked potato?
Of course, vegetables would be great. Onions, mushrooms work really well for baked potatoes. If you have to use something, sliced tomatoes work baked. Salsa is wonderful for baked potatoes as well. I would stay away from the fatty foods. The potato itself isn't very fattening. It's the cheese that you put on it. It's the bacon. It's the sour cream that you put on it. So I would say salsa, mushrooms, onions are great. Scallions work really well. There are vegan sour creams out there. Tofutti is my favorite. I have no connection to the company whatsoever. It's not healthy, but it's way better than regular sour cream. Because I understand that you're probably not going to go totally overboard on this. So maybe build up and try the vegan sour creams to start. Tofutti, again, be my favorite. And add some scallions to it and a little salt and pepper, or air-dried sea salt, maybe some pepper, a little garlic. That's what I would do. Salsa works great too. What else?
Do you know of any soda that doesn't have high fructose corn syrup like Coke Zero?
That's artificial sweeteners. Okay, so you want to stay away from that. There are companies like Zevia, Zevia, I think Blue Mountain, and they're sweetened with stevia. And so that's different. That's okay. If you're going to do soda, that would be a much better choice. And they have colas as well with caffeine in it. So, and remember, cola is really clear. The reason it's brown is they put caramel coloring in it, which is a known carcinogen as well. So the colas that you might get from Zevia would be clear, and it's going to have your caffeine, which I'm not a fan of, but I'm willing to hold your hand to make the transition. So stevia sweetened sodas are, I'm going to say, okay for you.
Have you seen Olipop yet?
Olipop. What's an Olipop?
It's a soda company. They do prebiotic sodas. Probiotic sodas.
Probiotic soda. Never heard of it.
It's like all natural ingredients for the most part. I haven't looked into it too much.
Okay. Never heard of it. Yeah. I don't know what they sweeten with, but okay. And the trend is going that way because you, the consumer, no added sugars. There you go. So you, the consumer, are getting sick and tired of dying from these things, And now with the internet, I mean, when I was young, we didn't have that. You have so much information, of course, Dr. Joe Show, drjoe.com, and people are saying, I want something different. And if the companies can make money off it, they'll offer it to you. So just demand it. What else?
Is Chick-fil-A the healthiest fast food restaurant?
No. Okay. If I go out for fast food, I'll cover that hopefully in the next segment. Okay, I'll put that in here. What do I eat? Fast food. All right, hang on for that one. I'm going to cover it. I'll come out of the gate and cover that one for you. Okay, what else?
That's all.
That's all. Garrett, nothing on your end?
Nothing over here.
Good. Okay. Ready for part two?
I will be surprised if Taco Bell is not the healthiest.
I'll cover that. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Glad you're with us today. Just right before we went on here, we were talking about what are the healthiest fast food restaurants. I'm going to cover that right now. So if you're just joining us, what we're talking about today are what's really in fast food. And we covered a lot of things. Now, if you ever miss anything, we post all of our shows, all our podcasts on our website, drjoe.com. We do that, I think, right? We post it on social media, Facebook, Instagram. So you can always go to my accounts and just look there in case you miss something, because I know, surprisingly, one of two of you may not catch everything we do. We post every day. On social media, we post every single day. We post health tips. And then we have the radio shows. Then we have the podcasts. And if you go to your podcast service, type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. We want to be your doctors. We want to be your source of health information. So drjoe.com is a great place to do it. So at the break, we were talking about what to eat, and Garrett, my associate, said, I bet you Taco Bell is probably the healthiest one. Now, I'm not going to disparage any ones on the air. I'm just going to talk about the ones that I like. If you go to Taco Bell, get a bowl, a bean bowl, and have beans and salsa and guacamole and lettuce and tomatoes. Yeah, that's a good choice. Relatively inexpensive. Depending where you are around the world, but I know in the Atlanta area, I'm a big Moe's fan. Again, I have no affiliation with any of these companies whatsoever. But Moe's, you can do a bean bowl, and it's beans and salsa and guacamole and cilantro. You could pick and choose what you want. And it's relatively inexpensive. It's a lot of food. It's a better choice. I always say instead of a beef burrito, have a bean burrito. You could have salads. There's so many salad places. Salada is a chain in the Atlanta area, and it's a great salad. For $10, it's so much salad you can't even eat it. So those would be better choices to make. Again, it's all about making the best choice that you can at this moment in time. And again, I'm not disparaging any of them. Everybody has a right to be in business, absolutely. But the choices that I make, I just shared with you. Pretty simple, all right? So we're talking today about what's really in your fast food. And I want to talk about hot dogs now. What's in them? Let's just say a lot of animal products are mixed in there. And there's euphemisms that I could say, but I can't say on the air. Also loaded with salt, saturated fat, and something called nitrates. Now, nitrates is a preservative. When it's heated, becomes something called nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are known carcinogens. Now, nitrates you might get from celery. Celery's high in nitrates. Nitrates become nitrites. Nitrites can convert into nitric oxide, which opens up your blood vessels, and that's a good thing. The problem is these type of nitrates, when they're heated around the meat and the fat, they become nitrosamines, which is carcinogenic. So you might see hot dogs, uncured hot dogs, or uncured bacon. No nitrates added. Keyword there, added. So what happens is they might use celery juice. And you think, well, celery juice is good for me. I like celery juice, so I'm going to eat the bacon that uses celery juice or the hot dogs that use celery juice. When you heat it around the fats and the proteins, it becomes nitrosamines. Still not good for you. So hot dogs, not a good choice. Now, there are plant-based hot dogs out there. Soy hot dogs, pea protein hot dogs. I've eaten them. They taste pretty good. I'm always honest with you. They taste pretty good. But they're still not a health food. They're better than the meat hot dogs, but they're still they use a textured soy protein, hydrolyzed protein. And when you do that, you change the molecular structure of the protein. It's really hard to digest. It frees up a lot of glutamic acid, which is excitotoxin to the brain. It goes the brain to fire faster than it's supposed to. So not my favorites. However, it's a much better choice as you're transitioning from your regular hot dog, you can do a plant-based hot dog. And what blows my mind, again, I've been eating well for 38 years now. I haven't had any animal products in 38 years. Back then, it was beans and rice, and then the other choice was rice and beans. And many times the beans even had lard in them. Now you're seeing fast food places have plant-based. You see the Impossible Burger at some of the fast food burger joints now too. Again, a little hard to digest, way better than the meat. And I've had the Impossible Burger. It tastes pretty good. Not going to lie to you. I tell you the truth when it comes to this health food stuff, folks. So if you have to have a burger, have the plant-based burger instead. If you have to have a hot dog, have the plant-based hot dog instead, the vegetarian hot dog. That's a step in the right direction. But the cool part is that most fast food places now have better options. They might have a salad. Again, I don't know if that's enough to fill you up. It's not enough to fill me up. But in an emergency, you're not going to starve. And that's the nice part about this. And again, it's all about making the best decision possible at this moment in time. So you think about it, look around. You know what? I can go get a bean burrito instead of a burger. Let me go get the bean burrito instead. I'm going to cut out the cheese and the sour cream because I don't do dairy products, but it's a much better choice. And you go, well, it has the wheat wrap. I get that. We're talking about making better choices. Best choice, of course, is raw fruits and vegetables, salads. And if you don't know what to eat, by the way, go to my website, drjoe.com, and just type in the search bar, so what can I eat? If you type in, so what can I eat? I sat in a studio one day because people kept saying, what should I eat? What should I eat? And I recorded for an hour, about an hour, maybe 40 minutes, I don't know. And I just talked about breakfast, lunches, dinner, snacks, fast food, raising kids, holidays, stocking and unstocking your pantry. So it's a real simple, easy guide on this is what your diet should look like. And by the way, if you search my website, it's no charge. We have over 4,000 hours of audio and video content, and it's absolutely free. So drjoe.com, just type in the search bar. I think you'll be very happy with the results. All right, so let's talk about chicken nuggets. Piece of chicken breast battered and fried to golden perfection. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, not exactly. There is some meat in there. There's also bones, blood vessels, nerves, connective tissue, skin, cartilage. And again, the chickens are probably fed corn and soy, which are high in omega-6 fatty acids, and omega-6 fatty acids cause inflammation in the body. They're fried in a vegetable oil, I'm assuming, which is also high in omega-6s. When the oil is fried, it's heated, it converts, and it oxidizes, and that oil becomes very toxic. Did a show a couple of weeks ago on fat specifically. And if I ate sugar, let's assume I sat down and ate a donut. And I used to work at a donut place. I used to make the donuts, by the way. I've had every job known to man, I think. Never waiter, though. Every job except waiter. And we would, you eat the donut, and it's a lot of sugar, okay? And it's fat. It's not good for you. However, if I eat something with a lot of sugar in it, it processes out of my body in a couple of hours, and the damage is pretty much limited. When I eat these toxic, rancid fats, these omega-6 fatty acids, those seed oils, corn oil, vegetable oils, cottonseed oil, soybean oils, these bean oils are high in omega-6s. We heat them and they oxidize. They change their molecular structure. I put them in my body, and my body uses this oil because it's the only oil around if this is my diet. And it needs oil. It needs oil to make hormones. It needs oil to create cell walls. Your cell walls, I think it's only your red blood cells, don't have this lipoprotein layer around them. And also the mitochondria. I know red blood cells don't have mitochondria. The mitochondria is the part of the cell, it's inside the cell, that generates electricity and energy. So if I have good fats, my mitochondria and my cell walls use these good fats to create cell walls and utilize it as part of the building structure. If I eat bad fats, it's the only fat around, my mitochondria needs some fat, it's going to use these bad fats. And that's very dangerous because now the mitochondria becomes weak and it can't function well. And that really is the aging process. Okay, we're eating away at our mitochondria. It just can't generate electricity like it used to. The cell walls become weak. It can't absorb nutrients, pass out waste products. And that really is a major contributor to the aging process, as well as every disease known to man. So, there are plant-based chicken nuggets out there. They're okay. I've had them. They're all right. I don't know if I ever had a real chicken nuggets. I think I went plant-based before chicken nuggets became a thing. But I would really want you to stay away from them because lots of fat, lots of salt, And things like chicken nuggets are linked to things like diabetes, heart disease, obesity. So I understand kids like them. I understand they're cheap. I understand they're fast. But maybe try taking the kids and let's go get a bean burrito instead and see if they're okay with that. Most kids are, by the way. So you can transition them away from that. Because when they're young, their brains are growing. Your brain is still growing too. But if you're putting junk in there, the body's going to build it with cheap materials. It's like building a house. You can build it with good materials or cheap materials. And the long-term effects can be devastating. So try to make better decisions. And if nothing else, at least give them something raw at every meal. Carrots, broccoli, cucumbers, whatever they like. And you can buy them pre-made now if you want to. But, I mean, peeling a cucumber and chopping it up for you and your kid is pretty easy. If you get organic, you can eat the skin too. It's pretty darn easy, and it's pretty darn cheap. So I understand raising kids is tough. I get that. But you have to start thinking about the health of your child. Now, you're not going to win every battle. Trust me on this. If you're a parent, you understand what I'm saying. You're not going to win every battle, but you can at least offer it to them and hope they make the right decisions. All right, other fast foods. How about a strawberry milkshake? Now it's milk, which I'm not a fan of. Number one cause of mucus, number one food allergen is dairy products. And I was at a baptism the other day, I'd mentioned. And I'm sitting there, and I'm at the table with the priest who did it. Very nice fella, Dr. Adrian. Very nice fella, and we're talking, and he says, so what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a chiropractor, nutritionist, radio show host. And he says, oh, my gosh. So he starts talking about nutrition. Very, very well-read man. Oh, my gosh, I was so impressed with him. And he started saying that he says he has so much mucus, and he coughs all the time and has trouble breathing. And he says, I realized when I eat dairy products, I have this reaction. When I don't eat dairy products, I feel good. He said, so I learned myself. And he has a sister who lives in Germany. He says, when I go to Germany, I can drink the German beer and I don't have a sinus reaction. If I drink American beer, I have a sinus reaction. So the food around the world is different. There are so many things that are banned in other countries that are allowed in the United States. And that's why if you go to other countries, you'll see products, ketchup, looks different. Same company, looks different. Why? They use real sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup. Same thing with sodas. A lot of soda companies realized that the Latin American community didn't like high fructose corn syrup. So if you go to a Latino grocery store, chances are you're going to find soda, same brand that you drink, with sugar in it, not high fructose corn syrup. Why? Well, first of all, the European Union demands you can't put all these toxic chemicals in the food, but it's also a flavor thing too. So it's interesting that here a priest was saying, you're right, Joe. Shouldn't be doing dairy products. So now there's milk and there's sugar in a strawberry milkshake. And one of the leading fast food outlets adds high fructose corn syrup, preservatives like sodium benzoate, artificial flavors, colors to make it look strawberry color. One thing that is missing from a strawberry milkshake in most commercial places that you go to, fast food restaurants, is strawberries. There's no strawberries in your strawberry milkshake. So consider that. Now, in my day, I used to like milkshakes. My dad used to make them for us, homemade, because we were very poor, extremely poor. And my father was disabled, so we were extremely poor. But he would take ice cream, the cheap ice cream, and throw it in a blender and whip it up, and we'd make our own milkshakes. And it was nice, good memory. And the milk, by the way, then was a lot different than it is now. But I realized, a long time ago, that it's not worth it. Just like Father Adrian realized it's not worth it to do dairy products because of the reaction he was having, the sinus reaction, the bloating, the gas. And so a better choice would, again, be water or seltzer if you're going to do fast food drinks. The soda's not a good choice. The milkshake's not a good choice. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to save so much money by switching over to a better diet. Even the fast food world. You're going to save so much money. You're going to feel better. You're going to probably lose weight, have more energy, go to the bathroom better. Your love life improves. There's no downside to doing this except one. And the one downside to doing this is that that stuff tastes good. However, you're going to realize that it's not worth it. It's not worth that little bit of pleasure for the long-term side effects of the high blood pressure, diabetes, the obesity, the sinus problems, the bloating, the gas, the diarrhea, the constipation, the loss of sex drive, the brain fog. It's just not worth it. Again, it may be cheap, but it's expensive in the long run. So what we try to do in our offices is we try to, hold your hand. You don't have to do everything I say, but let's hold your hand and educate you on what's happening. If you have neck pain, well, you think my main problem is pain. No, 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. You could have a pinched nerve and not know it. That's why my doctors are trained to not only test the nerves that feel pain, but also test the nerves that don't feel pain. And I just this week had a nurse practitioner come in, and I started explaining this to her, and I talked about muscle testing and testing for nerves that don't feel pain. And she said, my stepmother did this for years. She says, and I was so fascinated by it. I've never met anyone else who knows how to do this. And she was so into it. She was so excited. And even toward the end, she says, I'm only working part-time right now. She goes, maybe we'll work together as a nurse practitioner. Maybe we could work together someday. I had dinner with a medical internist. He wants to work with us. We're going to have a general practitioner start working with us. So years ago, there was such a divide between healthcare, chiropractors, the neurosurgeons, the neurologists, the primary care doctors. Nobody talked to each other. And now what's happening is everybody's coming together and saying, how can we work better to treat the patient? Not everybody. The smart doctors are. So if you have a health issue, if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, sciatica, headaches, muscle weakness, come see us. Stop suffering needlessly. Biggest complaint I get by far, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't another doctor tell me about this? And my answer is, I don't know. I have no idea. So if you'd like to make an appointment, drjoe.com. In the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. If you're not in the Atlanta area, we can always do virtual meetings. We can do a virtual consultation. So if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com, make an appointment. We'll get that set up for you right away. Normally, the first visit is $940. I've reduced that for you, my listeners, to $299 for an in-person consultation. That's exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays and your follow-up visit, complete nutrition evaluation. The x-rays alone are going to cost you more anywhere else. So stop suffering. Let's get to the cause of your healthcare problems if we can, and not just treat the symptoms. drjoe.com. We accept people with all insurances. It depends what your insurance covers. We accept you, but we have payment plans available. It's extremely affordable. You're going to regret that you didn't come in sooner, I hope. So drjoe.com, we'd love to see you. And if you're ever in a car accident, if the car's damaged, you're damaged. You need to come see us right away. Don't wait. Don't fall for these fake phone calls. Hey, this is Bob, and you should go see Dr. such and such and lawyer such and such. That's a scam. It irks me that these people are allowed to do this, and it's illegal. They will get caught, and they will go to jail, but don't you fall for that scam. No one's going to call you to say, come see a doctor. You can choose us or another doctor, but don't ever fall for somebody calling you up and saying, go to this doctor. It's a scam. So drjoe.com, virtual appointments, in-person appointments, all the supplements we talk about, Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide. We have a great intestinal formula for constipation, omega-3 fatty acids for brain function, estrogen regulator for men especially to prevent your testosterone from converting into estrogen, men's hormone support, vitamin D, immune boosters. So drjoe.com. Any questions you have, send them to me through the website, drjoe.com, and I'd be more than happy to answer your healthcare questions. So other things that's in fast food. What's really in your fast food? How about the sauces? First ingredient listed in most fast food sauces is sugar, sugar. It may be called sucrose, dextrose, maltose, barley malt, high fructose corn syrup, rice syrup. If you see OSE at the end of a word, it's a sugar. So sucrose, maltose, dextrose, galactose, that's all sugar. Rice syrup, by the way, is also sugar, and barley malt. The end result is the same. Quick delivery of calories, almost zero nutritional benefits. Plus, there's additives and preservatives and colors and everything like that, too. So please be careful with that. And I always say if you like ketchup, at least do ketchup with sugar in it. Now, that hurts me to say that. It hurts for me to say that your ketchup should have sugar. It's not good, but it's way better than high fructose corn syrup. And it drives me nuts when I have to make that negotiation. But I have to, because I understand reality. And reality is that you're not going to go cold turkey or cold tofu, whatever it is. You're going to want to make a transition. And so go to my website, drjoe.com, and just type in the search bar, so what can I eat? And it gives you a whole breakdown of what to eat, what not to eat. It's really not hard to do. It's really easy to make this transition. And one of the things that makes our food supply so dangerous, it's really not a secret any longer. Evidence reveals toxic levels in foods are rising because of conventional agriculture has become the leading cause of environmental pollution and destruction. I'm not going to give you a lecture on environmentalism, However, everybody talks about the environment and we're talking about temperature changes. The issue is, what's the number one cause of environmental changes? It's conventional agriculture. It's growing meat and dairy products. Also other vegetables as well, but meat and dairy products, the number one contributor. So it's very simple. If you just start making simple changes, cutting back on your animal consumption, I think you'll be very pleased with how you feel, your budget, you're going to save money, and now you're actually doing something that actually has a global impact. So it's up to you what you want to do. Again, I'm not here to lecture on globalism, but it's pretty cool. So the toxicity in food comes from a lot of sources. Some of the toxins are accumulated during the growth phase, others are added during harvesting, others are introduced in the manufacturing process. By far, the greatest concern are the regulated processed foods. But even whole, packaged foods, things with chemicals in it, but even whole foods, both plant and animals, can be contaminated. So my rule is this. If you pick up a package and you can't pronounce all the ingredients, don't eat it. I know some people say if it has more than 6 ingredients, don't eat it. Now, I've seen some healthy foods that have more than 6 ingredients, but let's say 10 ingredients. Don't eat it. And if it has a package, that could be an issue too. But try to eat foods in the closest form that they were picked. So, for example, if I pick an apple, that's good. If I have apple sauce, well, that's one process, but it's still a whole apple. If I have apple juice, that's a super high concentration of sugar. And you take out the fiber, you take out the phytonutrients. And so we talked last week about fruit juices not being a good choice, but fruit would be. And we posted that on social media, and some people say, well, I make my own juice. I understand that. But it's not only, a lot of juice has added sugar, but if I squeeze an apple, I'm concentrating that fructose. If I eat the whole apple, it has fiber in it, which I'm going to absorb a lot less. I talked about French fries, too, on social media. I said that earlier, and people, I make my own French fries. I understand it's not just the French fry process. It's the acrylamides that form when the potato browns. So, again, you don't have to do everything I say. I just want you to have an awareness to take a little step here and there to say, what can I do to make today better? What I want you to do, one rule, is I want you to have something raw today. Broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados, salad, fruits, something raw at least once a day. Next step is something raw at every meal. So I'm going to have a cucumber. I'm going to have a tomato. I'm going to have a salad. I'm going to have a broccoli. I'm going to have whatever it is. Raw food has something in it called enzymes that are so important. And the big concern is that 70% of Americans have detectable levels of something called glyphosate in their body. Glyphosate is a weed killer, and it affects the pathway in the body. And the company that makes it says it's not a big issue because humans don't have this pathway in a plant that it kills the plant. However, this pathway, Shikimati is what it's called, the Shikimati pathway, is found in human gut bacteria. And too much exposure, even a little bit of exposure to glyphosate, can trigger DNA damage, can affect the pineal gland, which is the master gland in your body. It can be related to things like autism, depression, anxiety, Parkinson's. It can affect your thyroid-stimulating hormone. That could lead to hypothyroidism. And so you see the commercials now that if you were exposed to glyphosate, you may have a lawsuit. Well, you are exposed to glyphosate. 70% of us have it in our blood system if we did a test right now. And a lot of it comes from eating the animal products, because the animal products, they spray the plants, the wheat, the corn, the soy, whatever they're feeding the animals. Then they feed the animals, and note that glyphosate, which is the weed killer, is concentrated in the fat cells. And then you eat the fat cells. And so that's where it comes, not only from fruits and vegetables. It's minimal in fruits and vegetables compared to the animal products. Hey, folks, I'm almost out of time. If you have any health questions, just go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can send me questions there. If you'd like to make an appointment, which I think you should, do that right now, drjoe.com. We can do virtual appointments or we can do in-person appointments. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Let's find out why you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, brain fog. Let's talk about your diabetes, your blood pressure. I'm not here to treat your disease. I'm here to get you healthy enough so hopefully the disease is manageable, and maybe, in many cases, you can cut out the medications. Follow me on social media. We post every single day at Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. If you're a podcast junkie, go to your podcast service, type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. And the website again, drjoe.com. Bam. All right. Who's got questions? Plenty. All right. I got time.
I am a healthy person. What supplements and nutrients should I take for my brain?
Minimum supplements would be Super Greens, Essential Source, nitric oxide if you have normal or high blood pressure, not if you have low blood pressure, and omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-3, nitric oxide, Super Greens, and Essential Source. The only caveat, again, if you have low blood pressure, don't take the nitric oxide. What else? And they're on the website, drjoe.com.
Is guac a good choice for my burrito?
Absolutely. Love it. Good fatty acids, good for you. Potassium, calcium, iron. What else?
What about salsa water or sparkling water instead of soda?
Absolutely. I said that earlier. Yes, excellent choice. What else? What do you have?
Do you know of any good plant-based burgers sold at grocery stores?
Yes, I just got some the other day at Kroger, and I don't know the brand, but all it was vegetables. They had it with black beans as well. So look at maybe black bean burgers or vegetable burgers, but I would stay away from the ones that are based in soy. And the Impossible Burger is made with pea protein, so that's a little better. Still pretty processed, but of the two, Impossible will be better. And then if you can get something like a black bean burger or a plant-based burger like that, that's the only brand I can think of. So what else?
Is xanthan gum good for you?
Xanthan gum can be a little, can cause some allergic reactions in some people, but generally speaking, if that's your biggest sin, it's okay. Now, if you get a copy of my book, Eating Right for the Health of It, I have a good burger recipe in there, by the way. So that's on the website, drjoe.com. You can make your own. It's pretty good. What else?
What are good and healthy oils to incorporate into my diet?
Coconut oil, extra virgin organic olive oil, and avocado oil would be the only three I'd recommend. Now, it could be macadamia nut oil, too. But here's the thing with olive oil. I was, again, at this christening I was at the other day. The priest we talking about olive oil, and he says, you realize that it's impossible to have as much olive oil on the shelves as there is. There's not enough olive orchards in the world to make as much olive oil as they're selling on the shelves. So what happens is with olive oil, about 70% of it is bastardized. It's cut with soybean oil or some other oil. So you don't know this. Even the big brands can have it. So what I want you to do is take the olive oil that you buy at the grocery store, put it in the refrigerator. Come back the next day. If it's cloudy, you probably got a good oil. If it's not cloudy, return it to the store and get your money back. And tell the manager why you're doing it. And they're going to think you're crazy. But again, it's impossible to have as much olive oil on the shelves as there is. There's not enough olives in the world to make that much oil, so it has to be cut. And about 70 to 80%, depending on what study you read, is not pure olive oil. So at least get organic extra virgin olive oil, start there, and make sure it turns cloudy. What else?
Late joiner, is stevia safe?
Yes, do organic stevia. What else, late joiner? Well, it's an odd name.
Are protein shakes healthy?
Depends what the protein's made with. If it's a plant-based protein, organic plant-based protein, it's probably okay. That being said, you don't need it. But if you want to do a protein shake, organic plant-based protein would be the way to go. I would not do whey ever or soy protein. Not a big fan of those because, again, they're processed.
I have no problem letting go of meats. What can I replace them with for protein purposes?
You only need about 8 to 10% of your total caloric intake as protein. Anything beyond 8 to 10% is wasted. And too much protein is actually very dangerous to the liver and the kidneys and brain function, arteries. So you don't have to replace it. If you're eating a good, well-rounded diet of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, you don't need more protein. It's the number one question I get. And you could look it up now. Go on the website, on the internet, and look up vegan bodybuilders, vegan athletes. So many athletes are realizing when they cut out the meat, their performance increased dramatically. I see it in my life. I'm not no professional athlete, but I know my performance is way better than a lot of people my age in many areas because of not eating the animal proteins. So you don't have to replace the protein, but if you're eating fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and go to my website, drjoe.com, type in, so what can I eat, you're getting way more than enough protein. Okay? What else?
Is Swerve a good sugar substitute?
Yes. Oligosaccharides, yeah. hmm Good job. Look at Garrett spitting out big words. So impressive.
How is MCT oil?
It's not really necessary. It's processed medium chain triglycerides. They get it out of coconuts. You don't really need it. It's just another selling point. So there's no need to add MTCT. It's okay, but there's no need for it. So, what else?
I have stomach bloating even though I exercise. Is there anything I can do?
Many times with stomach bloating, the stomach is actually pushed up against the diaphragm. And in cases like that, we need to physically pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. So if you want to see the technique that we use, go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in GERD, G-E-R-D, gastroesophageal reflux disease. And you'll see it's a very short article, about 3 paragraphs, and we talk about the techniques that we use. Very few doctors know the technique. I wish they did. We have a lot of doctors come in as patients, and they're like, how come we never heard about this before? But it's a very gentle, very easy technique to pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. You cannot do it on your own. I have this condition, and I've tried every contortion known to man. You need our help in this one, unfortunately. I wish I could teach you, and I would. But you want to pull the stomach away from the diaphragm and then check the nerve supply from the spine that goes to the stomach to make sure that there's no interference there. But it's the number 2 reason we see patients. Number 1 reason we see patients is pain. Number 2 reason is people have digestive problems. And we're usually really good at both of them. So, what else?
We should do a demonstration soon.
We should. Oh, we have a video. We did a reel on it, didn't we?
A few of them,
Yeah. If you go to Facebook,
Facebook and TikTok.
TikTok, I guess. Yeah. And if you go to my thing, I'm adjusting actually Dr. Amy's stomach. You can see it's one of my doctors laying on a table, and I show how to pull it down. Again, you can't do it on your own, so don't try. Come see us. Yeah. What else?
Is erythritol safe?
Erythritol?
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Way better than sugar and artificial sweetener. You might get diarrhea if you take too much of it, though. So, what else?
Is monk fruit a good sugar substitute?
Yes, monk fruit's okay too.
Are there any downsides to using frozen fruits and vegetables instead of fresh?
No, not at all. Try to do organic if you can, but no, there's no downside to it. A lot of questions today. You guys are very impressive.
What are the best foods for arthritis?
Go to my website, drjoe.com, and type arthritis in the search bar. The best foods for arthritis are the same thing for everything else: fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And more important than what you eat is what you don't eat. You want to stay away from alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, because those are the 7 foods that will just blow up your arthritis and make it substantially worse. So, and supplement-wise, Super Green's an essential source. Turmeric, we have a turmeric supplement. I don't know if I have a sample here. It looks like that. And adrenal support to bring down the inflammation. So turmeric, Super Green, essential source, and adrenal. And everybody should be taking vitamin D, because vitamin D does so many different things. This is our liquid vitamin D. I take 5 drops a day. And if I could change the world and insist that everybody take one supplement, it would be vitamin D, unless you're out in the sun a lot. So Super Green, essential source, turmeric, adrenal, and vitamin D. And then listen to the show we did on arthritis. What else?
Is ghee, G-H-E-E, a healthy choice?
No. Still butter. It's purified. I get it. It's not. No. Still a saturated fat. Still not good.
Is intermittent fasting good?
Yes, intermittent fasting is wonderful. I try to do it several times a week. Did it last night, right before my radio show. I ate at 4 o'clock, and then I was done, and I didn't have breakfast today till about 7. So, yeah, the longer you can go within reason, the better you are. At least 12 hours a day, don't eat. So if you have dinner at 5 o'clock, don't eat again until 5 o'clock the next day. 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock. At least 12 hours, 18 hours is even better. So, but anything in between there is fine.
Do you have any locations near Johns Creek?
Yeah, Alpharetta is right near Johns Creek. So Duluth, I'm sorry. Duluth is near Johns Creek. You're kind of in the middle of our Marietta office and our Duluth office. But just go on our website, get the addresses, find out which one is closer. Most of our Johns Creek patients go to our Duluth office. So.
What about organic grass-fed beef?
If you're going to do beef, that's the kind to do. I prefer you don't do it. But if you're going to do it, that's the kind to do.
What are the best foods for hot flashes?
Go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in women's health issues. And the best foods will be, of course, Super Greens, an essential source. Do not do estrogen regulator. That's not for you. That's for women of childbearing years and for men. So women's hormone support is good for that as well. And then changing your diet is going to be huge. When you cut out the meats and the dairy products, which are loaded with these fake estrogens, or chemical estrogens, I should say, that's going to change dramatically. So look into that. Listen to the show, Super Green Essential Source, nitric oxide to open up your blood vessels, and women's hormone support. But then we can dig deeper if you want to do a customized plan, and I'm happy to do that for you.
What are some quality supplements to use? Some use oils that aren't healthy, I think.
drjoe.com, all of our supplements. I mean, I customized a lot of these. I invented these two. And a lot of the supplements, I vet the companies that do them, and I make sure that they're not using anything toxic, anything junk. It's all great. And everything is plant-based. The only thing that isn't is the vitamin D. It's lanolin from sheep wool, but everything else is totally vegan. And we're working on getting a vegan one of these, too. Garrett's working on that. So drjoe.com, you can trust our supplements.
Is GERD an invasive procedure?
No, we do it strictly from the outside, just like that. We pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. It's very easy. It's not going to go away in one visit, so I don't think it's going to be one and done. It's going to take a few to rebuild the musculature. But we always want to check the spine as well, and not just the stomach, because if GERD's involved, it's usually a spinal issue as well. But it takes 20 seconds, maybe. All right, I've done your stomach, Garrett, right? It doesn't hurt, right? Yeah, it doesn't hurt. So, all right, what else?
You might be a little bit more forceful than the rest.
Yeah, I'm definitely more aggressive. Garrett, that's totally honesty. Yeah, me and Dr. Cat, we're the ones that dig in there, but yeah, the other ones are more gentle. So
It still never really hurt.
yeah, it doesn't hurt. It's not, What else?
Do you suggest taking tablespoons of olive oil?
No. You don't need that much concentrated oil. It's still a processed food. So again, if you use a little bit of it on your salads or something like that, okay, but I wouldn't take it as a supplement. No, it's unnecessary.
What about raw honey instead of Swerve for my coffee?
If you're going to use honey, raw organic honey is the best one to use. It's still a lot of fructose, but if you use it in small amounts, I'll give you my blessing on that one. So. What else?
Are there any risks involved by moving GERD?
There's always a risk involved in everything, but in 40 years I've been doing it, we've never had a problem. So you always want to check to make sure the person doesn't have a dissecting aortic aneurysm. Is there cancer of the pancreas? But we check the best we can, but even we've never had an issue. So can't say no, but I can't say no risk, but we've never had an issue in all these years. So
how is Manuka honey?
It's okay. It makes all these claims. I'm not sure if those claims are real or not, but it's okay, honey. Yeah, I'm right with it.
That's all.
Wow. Good job, kids. All right, guys. Again, whatever platform you're on, make sure you follow us on all the other platforms at Dr. Joe Esposito. Any questions, drjoe.com, and make an appointment. It really is the best thing, and most people don't regret it. They're very happy.